but it's not time yet.
It's not. We're gonna just say hello a little early before we start the countdown. You. Yo, what's up, everyone? Yo, what's up, everyone? Whoa, I need to remember to mute. Need to remember to mute that so I don't hear myself. That'd be good. We're just gonna hang out here for a few minutes, then we'll start the countdown here a little bit. Just hanging out, saying hi. We're not gonna get into any content yet, so you guys be nice and gentle to Patrick. It's his first live stream. So Patrick, I need folks in the stream to tell me how Patrick's audio level is. Is it too soft, too loud? What is it? Patrick, say something. Say something to chat.
Patrick, say something to chat.
You're so diverse.
Yes, I am.
Good.
Yes, I am.
Nice. Says it's crisp. Yo. Get everyone in the chat. Everyone's hanging out. HTX. Where's HTX? Bradford, where's HTX? I should know this. Houston. Oh, all right. Well, yeah. I should know that.
Houston, Texas.
There you go. I was thinking that was like an airport code. You said IAH, I'd be like, all right, I know where that is. Wow. Feel stupid now. All right. Yes, the guy who loved the Algerian font video. Yes. Bilal? Is that your name? I'm horrible at pronouncing names. Patrick, are you good at pronouncing names?
No, man.
What's up, Shiva?
Are you kidding me?
Imran, how you doing? Ross, good to see you. VJ? Up. Tristy Wizard, I like that. The UK. There's people all over.
All over
Blade
the world,
Runner
man.
is back from Costa Rica. I don't think Blade Runner was there. That was more of an LA thing. Danny, what's up? Ooh. Aqua Discovery from Florida. How's it in Florida?
Hey, that's not too far from me.
Yeah. In Florida, is it sunny? Bet you it's warmer than here. So Ryan said, I heard Tableau is buying out Power BI. Yeah. Keep that rumor going. That is not true.
Sweden, Montreal, Denmark.
Yeah. Lots of folks.
It's freezing. It's 50. It's 55 in Florida.
Imran's in Pakistan. That's insane. That's awesome.
Wow. The Netherlands.
Yeah. Freezing 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. Was that like is that like 15 degrees Celsius? Those folks outside of the US, because the US likes to be different from everyone else. Yeah, Alex, Cornwall, UK. Alex, thanks for being in the house.
Wow, Peru. Jorge's in Peru.
It's not about the sell. St. Louis, Missouri. Oh man. Everyone wants us to visit everywhere, man. We're laying low. We're trying to lay low this year. So we gotta focus on some work stuff. We love traveling. And we are gonna be in. We're gonna talk about some places we're gonna be in this live stream.
All right,
Plain old Indianapolis. Yeah.
Plain old Indianapolis.
It's 288 degrees Kelvin.
Oh my God.
Nice. Kim, 37 in Missoula, Montana. Wow. What's the population in Missoula, Montana? Kim, well, I've been to Bozeman, and it was not a lot of people there.
I've been to Billings. I went to Billings, Montana.
Yeah.
It's cold. It was cold.
About 90,000. Wow, that's bigger than I thought. So I technically am in the town of Cut and Shoot, Texas. So that is a a Texas name if I ever heard one. Population of 1,200. But we're on the outer skirts of Houston, so it's the Houston main area. So Western Montana. It's the real Montana. Yeah, all right. 71.6 degrees in Dubai. Wow, damn, Dubai. I need to go to Dubai someday. I really want to go there.
Let's do a training in Dubai.
It's Patrick signing us up for stuff. PJ says, great reference for them. They were quite happy. What are we talking about? I missed something. Must have missed something. Chat's crazy. Going by fast. 15 in Montreal. There you go. Now, wait, 15. Is that Celsius? It's probably Fahrenheit. It's cold. Montreal's way up north, so that's got to be Fahrenheit. Ooh.
Japan.
Aqua Discovery. Your shirt's missing Lizard and Spock. Big Bang Theory, buddy. You're missing two.
Nope. I just stick to 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. All right. rock, paper, scissors.
Nice. Marshall 115, guy from Japan. Nice. VJ, during last week was attending one Indian retail leader training and referred Guy in the Cube channel. Oh, nice. Love that. Social fitness. Now I need to get data from one column based on the filter conditions. Ian says Toronto, 15 degrees Fahrenheit, 11 Celsius. Nice. Ooh, Serbia. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that name, man. I'm gonna Bratislav. Oh, maybe I got it right. I don't know. Oh man, loving hanging out with everyone here. Thank you so much for attending. We're gonna have some fun on this one, Patrick. Got some good stuff to talk about.
Once we get started.
Is your light on?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to brighten it up? Should I brighten it up?
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit.
Right. Let's do it.
I always nag Patrick
Press
on the
the remote.
lights.
Just say when.
All right. That's good.
Go down.
No, you're fine. Good.
It's so shiny on my forehead, though.
That's because you're a bright individual.
A bright individual, yeah. But I'm not technical at all.
You said it, not me.
Hey, look what I found.
What'd you find? Oh, your lens cap. Look at that. Look at that. Very nice.
When I'm all done, guess what I'm gonna do with it? Put it on my lens.
Stick it on the lens. There you go. Protect the lens. Oh, bro. Oh, bother. So, social fitness. Someone is looking for help on the filtering. So, looking to get data from one column based on, I'm assuming, another with filter conditions. I mean, you can use a measure and then use that as
I need to know more.
Yeah, I'd need to know more. All right, guys, we're going to kick it over to the countdown. Let some other folks join in, and then we will be back at 0. Do it.
Can't stand another heartbreak, but it's time. Can't stand another heartbreak, but it's time to let it go. It'd be easier for me if I can't wait to flee. Oh, but there's something holding on, the way being long gone.
Yo, Patrick wasn't watching. His head was down, and I saw the thing, and I'm like, "Oh man, he's not going to pay attention, is he?" Oh, what's up, everyone? Welcome, welcome. We got a full house. A lot of international folks in the house, along with folks in the U.S. Love to see that. Chewy, good to see you again, buddy. Vivek, hey, from India. Awesome. We got Darminion all the way from South Louisiana. Patrick likes that.
All right.
All
Yes.
right.
Yes.
All right.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Tigers.
Go sports. Yes. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are. Oh, I forgot to even do this. Hang on. I'm still getting used to all this stuff. So, oh, not that one. Ooh. There we go. Adam and Patrick in the house with you. Welcome, Patrick, to your first live stream.
Number one.
Awesome.
Number uno.
It was crazy last week with Chris, man. We had a good time. There were a lot of folks in there. So live streaming is a thing.
I was down in Mississippi. I was down in the Gulf Coast.
He was.
Yeah.
It was a little family venture, wasn't it?
It was. It was a 7-hour drive from my house down to the Gulf Coast, but it was fun. It was
nice.
fun. It was fun.
Nice. Yeah. All right. So today's topic, we are going to look at Power BI conferences and should you even go? Patrick, yay or nay?
I would say for the right reason. You got
For
to
the
think
right
about
reasons.
it, though, right?
Okay. All right.
For the
All right.
right reason. You got to really think about it, right?
All right. So that's it, everyone. Thanks for joining today. We'll see you. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We're going to do more than that. We're going to do more than that. So, yeah, I would say from a conference perspective, I agree on the right reasons. You need to think about why it is you're going, what's the value that you're looking to get out of that, and
Right.
also the big thing before we get into the main points, I'll just address this. Someone asked earlier about this was a couple days ago about like, oh, I'm interested on your take on the whole coronavirus thing or COVID-19, and like is that what we're going to talk about? I'll just make a quick statement on it because really I want to think about the bigger picture and the longer term thing. So the coronavirus obviously is deep on everyone's mind right now, just because it's in the news. And so I also saw like the Power Platform. I don't know if it was a World Tour Barcelona or Summit Barcelona or something that just got moved off to June. It was supposed to happen here in March. So there's a lot of conferences that are switching right now just to be mindful about what's going on, try and keep everyone safe. And so just stay in tune to the news, watch if there are conferences that you are looking to attend, just make sure you're paying attention to their websites and that you're monitoring like what they're doing if they end up moving. And then that's a personal judgment call on your end if you're going to attend or not. I know some of the folks on the international side outside of the US are, I think, more inclined to that's where they're kind of moving those out. Inside of the US, I haven't heard of one that's been affected by that yet. So just definitely keep your eye on the news. Personal judgment, be safe. And Patrick, you mentioned something to me right before this that
wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Right?
Wash your hands on a regular basis.
Keep them clean. Scrub them.
Wash your hands.
I know some doctors said make sure you're scrubbing with soap and water 30 seconds. Just scrub them down.
But see, that's the key. That's the key, Adam. I think a lot of people, when they're out and about, they go in the restroom and they don't hit the soap. You got to hit the soap. You got to use some soap. Yeah. You got to use some soap.
Yep. All right. Yeah, got to use the soap. All right. So I would say conferences are just a great way. And we'll talk about some of the connections and stuff. But when you're working with Power BI, like if you want to take it to that next level and really get the most out of Power BI, that's where conferences really come into play. And these could be really small conferences to big conferences to, I would even lump in user groups into that as well.
Yep.
Same kind of feel where you're getting more learning, making those deep connections. So, all right. So first item I want to call out here, Patrick, is just networking, building relationships, right? So that's that face-to-face conversations that you can make with someone when you're at a conference or a user group or whatnot. So what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
So when I first started working for Microsoft, we have an internal conference that we get to attend from a sales perspective. And the first time I went, I just kind of was going to sessions. But every event, every conference after that, I took the time, instead of going to the sessions, right? I know, I should have probably went to the session, but I took the time to go meet people. I took the time to go meet every presenter that I could possibly meet that was delivering a session, because it was that paid more dividends than me sitting in their sessions. I would literally stand outside the room and wait for the speaker to come out and go, "Hey, my name's Patrick. I'm new at Microsoft. I just want to, create the connection with you to see what I can learn. I may have a question." Now we have the relationship where it's okay for me to shoot them an email when I have a question and things like that, right? So it's just so much better, right? Networking is, I think, from a conference perspective, networking is the top thing that you should try to do. That's how we connected. That's how you and I connected, right?
Yeah, we did. It was not in a session though. It was over beer, I believe. So
yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't drink beer.
Yeah. So let's see here. So Bradford had a good comment here. Let's do. So he said, give a talk at a conference. Teaching leads to deeper learnings and understanding. So I totally agree with that. And it looks like we lost Patrick. Yeah, this thing is starting to. Your video has lagged out. I think my B-roll blew up our stream. Maybe gonna skip that.
Oh, you know what happened?
No, what happened, Patrick?
I think this tool. There we go. Hang on one second. Oh yeah, this thing went away.
Yeah, looks like we're.
Oh, there it goes. Should be there.
Yeah.
It's not there.
A little delayed. It's a little delayed.
Sure.
I will say last week.
So we still seem.
Okay. Yeah, as Bradford's saying, it's very delayed.
I'm not sure.
All right. Well, we'll try and keep plugging along here. I'm hearing you. Oh, hey, Jen Stirrup's in the house.
Okay.
Just saw you. All right. So Jen made a comment here. Let's throw that up on the screen. Jen made a comment that she is totally a shy person and finds networking hard. That said, at Power BI conferences, you all have something in common. You all have Power BI, which is so true. That is very true.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, networking is
easy
big.
to start a conversation.
It is. And so I think also sometimes folks are a little intimidated going up to some of the folks that are kind of the bigger names. And so that's just something that don't feel. Try not to feel intimidated about that. I know it's hard, but most of those folks are very, very just happy to chat with you, right? So it's always nice to say hi to new people and whatnot. I always love when people come up to me. So the other thing too about were you gonna say something, Patrick?
Yeah, one thing though. So like somebody told me after the conference, these people saw you and they didn't want to come up to you. You know, they were like, "Oh no, it's Patrick. We can't go talk to Patrick." If you see me at a conference, if you see me at the grocery store, if you see me anywhere, come and say hi.
Yeah,
just come
absolutely.
and say hi, right?
Yep.
I consider myself a very approachable person. I think I am, right?
Yeah.
So just come and say hi, right?
Yeah, and Dave agrees with you. So he said he met you at MBAS in Atlanta, and he said it was great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Patrick's
I'm just
a nice
regular
guy.
dude.
Patrick's a nice guy.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm absolutely gonna leave the B-rolls along. I had all these B-rolls queued up. It was wonderful. I think that messed up Patrick though. Patrick's.
I think when we get the new computer, it'll be better.
Yes. So, alrighty. So another thing that I think about when I go to big conferences or conferences I would say you've paid to go to as opposed to the free conferences, one of the things I think about too is like you're putting a little skin in the game, right? So you're taking that opportunity to really take it a step further, and so that's something that I think about also. Anyone can go to a free training, but not everyone goes to those paid events. So that is definitely something from a networking perspective that I personally do think about. Not to say that if we are at a free conference that I'm not happy to talk with you and all that. I'm in my mind, in the back of my mind, I am thinking about just the fact that we're at a paid conference, especially if we're at like a paid pre-day, something like that. I tend to go a little bit extra or a little bit further in terms of how I'm engaging with folks and whatnot, just because they are putting that extra skin in the game. So make sure you're, I'm mindful about that. Let's see here. So Patrick, the next item that we're going to talk about, and you are really delayed, my friend. So I don't know if you want to refresh your browser and maybe see if that helps.
All right.
We're gonna do this live, right? He's gonna refresh his browser. All right. Do a clap for me, buddy. All right, now we're back. Patrick is back in sync. All right. Everything's back. I'm not doing any more B-roll. I had all sorts of B-roll lined up for this, but I'm going to stay away from that. That needs a little more testing. VJ makes a comment whenever they're attending an event that he becomes very flexible and just starts meeting folks. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So point number two, sharing of information. Sharing of information. All right. So this is beyond. So, sessions and keynotes and whatnot that are at conferences, right, Patrick? So those have a lot of information. There's a lot of people that spend a lot of time thinking about putting those sessions together and sharing that information for everyone that attends. But for me, this goes beyond the stage as well, right? So this is the information that we can get when we're making those connections and doing the networking, right? So
The one thing I hate the most is when I go to a conference and I go in the speaker room and there's more speakers in the speaker room than out in sessions and out walking about, because some of the best information sharing happens between sessions, you know, because everyone doesn't have the personality where they're going to walk up after the session and, you know, or ask the question during the session. They wait until the session's over and say, "Hey, Patrick, I got a question." And so if you're a speaker, don't go to the speaker room unless you're working on your session. Otherwise, get out and about, because the best information sharing happens between the sessions.
Yeah, well, and it's important also for those folks that, you know, in between the sessions or, you know, bumping into folks when they bump into those speakers, of being able to connect with them and ask those questions, right? But if they're stuck in the speaker room, then that doesn't help the people that are attending. So I know you and I are always mindful about that, and we try to be out there as much as possible. Honestly, I don't go. The only time I really go to that speaker room is if I'm having to work on something to finish something up. But outside of that, I'm sitting in sessions and talking with folks that are there. So, and then so that's good. So where is it? Solitaire Kid had a question. Does Microsoft have something equivalent to MicroStrategy Worlds? I'm not specifically familiar with MicroStrategy Worlds, but we'll talk about some of those conferences in a little bit. One of those, the Premier Power BI conference, is going to be Business Application Summit. So Microsoft Business Application Summit is the big one, and so that's something that you can think about there. All right, let's see here. So sharing of information, when connecting with those folks too, some of those discussions when we're having those have incredible value. So I know I've talked to folks where a lot of times having that conversation with the person, and they had this question that they wanted to ask, and they came up to me and asked it, and we walked through like, okay, tell me more about what your scenario is. Let's go through those items, and maybe it's this, or this. And there's been many times where the comment has been, "Man, that made the conference for me," right? So like sometimes those conversations have more value than the sessions themselves for some folks, right? Because they have a burning question or a scenario that they're trying to get to. So that's a big deal. So Darminion says that they are attending a pre-con for the first time this Friday in Baton Rouge. Can't wait. Wow. That's a big deal. Those pre-day things, man, that's a lot of information in those. There's a lot of work that goes into those too. So that's something, if you're in one of those pre-days, so a pre-con or a pre-day, those are a full day session or workshop that folks put together. That's a lot of work to put those things together. Patrick and I have done many of those, and it is hard. It is hard. All right. Moving this train along. Let's keep this train going. So let's see if this actually. There we go. All right. So 3, just the vibe of the conference, right? So I love the vibe of conferences, and this gets me revved up on just in terms of meeting with folks and just the energy that's there. So it's really, really amazing to see there. So Patrick, what are your thoughts on that?
It's like, because a lot of these people you only see once a year, right? Mm-hmm. I remember when I first started going to the SQL Pass conference, and sometimes I'd see, this person or this group of people, once every year, and it's just kind of going back. You get to hang out with them. It's like seeing family that you haven't seen in a long time, and it's just the best vibe that you can have. You're like, oh wow, I haven't seen you in so long. I think it's great. It's wonderful.
So Nicola made a comment earlier. Conferences give you vision, man. So I agree. And that's part of that vibe, right? So it gets you energized. It takes you out of your day to day, and really lets you think about things that you may not otherwise do. So Bradford agrees. So love conferences because it does pull you out of that day to day job, and you can be in that moment when you're at the conference, as opposed to getting distracted and your manager's knocking on your door every 5 minutes, wondering where that TPS report is. It happens. So the other thing too is you're around other like-minded people as well, right? So these are all people that are focused on, Power BI or the Power Platform, or that are more than likely, they probably have the same questions that you have and are looking for those same opportunities and maybe just the discussion. So that's something to think about. The other thing,
a lot of time, right, those discussions spark new ideas. Because at least for me, when I attend conferences or like going to a SQL Saturday or any conference, especially, and this, we come up with great video ideas, right?
Oh, like, yeah. Oh man.
Never thought about that before.
Yeah, we'll have one conversation, and out of that, we got like 5 video ideas that are part of that. That's a great way for us to do that. So let's see here. There was a comment. Where did it? Oh, so Chewy made the comment of the Power BI or the Power Hour last year at Atlanta for MBAS was great. That was nuts. That was insane. Let me tell you about that. So we went from past summit the year before so for folks that don't know what the Power Hour is, that's a session where a bunch of folks get together and just kind of show things in the product that the product wasn't really meant for. So I remember Chris Webb, past summit one he did where he was talking to ghosts with Power BI. Yeah. And so we just do fun things and we try to have a good time. And the one at MBAS in Atlanta, that thing was nuts. We went, it was 400 at the past summit the year before. And that was the biggest I had ever seen it, personally. And then at MBAS we did, I think it was 1,300 people, standing room only. That was insane. That was a full production. That was amazing. So buddy Seth here. So he made a comment. Every speaker has a positive story about someone that impacted them. Typically it's at a conference. Everyone that attends a conference, and it got cut off because it's 140 characters. So yeah, but yeah, absolutely though. The connections that you make at those conferences can really be a really positive experience for some. And look, I'm not saying it's every time, everywhere, but I think when I've talked to people, the majority of the time it's that way. So it tends to be just that aspect. And like Patrick said earlier, also the whole, it's like a family get together, right? So if you go like year over year to some of these, so like past summit, I know I've been going past summit since 2008. Patrick, I don't know how long you've been attending past summit.
I don't know. It's a long time.
It's a long time. Some of the SQL Saturdays that are the bigger SQL Saturdays. So Business Application Summit, we've been there a bunch of times. And those people, I say SQL, but the past summit, which is a SQL event, where it started as a SQL event, and then SQL Saturdays, you're thinking, wait, SQL, that's not Power BI, but there's a ton of Power BI stuff there too. Power BI has its roots in the SQL family. And so a lot of those folks in the SQL family, they come over on the Power BI side as well, or the business intelligence side of things. So just being able to see those folks over and over again. And I remember like I was traveling to Europe a lot also, and I ended up, a lot of the Europe folks come over to the US as well. And so I actually saw the Europe folks more than I saw the US folks, just because I was going to both conferences that were there.
So I could tell you early in my career, I went to a SQL Saturday in Orlando. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, it changed everything about my career. I met Brian Knight at a SQL Saturday in Orlando. And from there, man, I started working for Pragmatic Works. I became an MVP. I wrote books, and now I'm here at Microsoft, and now I'm, doing this with you. And it's all because of conferences. I'll be honest with you guys. It's all because of attending conferences.
Yeah. So, yeah. And either attending or speaking at one also. Like if you want to take that plunge and go that extra mile and speak, it's a huge thing. It's very nerve-wracking also to make that leap. Jen Stirrup made that point earlier as well, and it's definitely, it can be an amazing, thrilling ride. Like when it's done, it's like, oh my god. I remember like doing the pre-cons, because those are like full, like usually 8-hour things, and it's always nerve-wracking leading up to that. But man, when it's done, that feeling you get once it's done and people come up to you and say like, oh my gosh, that was amazing, it's a great feeling. So Tiago had a comment, any suggestions of Power BI conferences in Europe? Patrick is the king of Europe conferences. So no, he's not. So Power BI conferences, I don't know if other folks have said anything, but SQL Bits is coming up. SQL Bits is a big Europe conference. There's a lot of Power BI stuff there, even though it says SQL in the title. That's in the UK. It's going to be in London this year, so definitely check that one. That's always a good time. They have, of every conference I've been to, and this is probably not the reason you should go to a conference, but SQL Bits has by far the best attendee party that I've ever seen at any conference. They put on a full show. It's really amazing. Other Europe conferences, so look at the Power Platform World Tours. So I know the Barcelona one that got moved off a little bit, and then also Power Platform Summit. So that's usually around Amsterdam and whatnot. And then also check out Power BI Days. So those are other free events similar to like a SQL Saturday that you can go check out there. And then SQL Saturdays also. So those are all items that you can go. And then Camille, good to see you, buddy. He mentioned also SQL Day in Wrocław, Poland in Europe. So that's in May 2020. So that'll be great also if you want to head out to Poland. All right. Let's see here. So Bradford also mentioned the Gartner Summit. Gartner Data and Analytics Conference is coming up at the end of March. This is going to be his third year. My third year as well. So, and then this will be Patrick's second year at that one. So, yep, it's up at the Gaylord Resort up in Grapevine, Texas, up in Dallas. So it's like a 3.5 hour drive for me. So that'll be nice. No flights for me, buddy.
Yep.
Alrighty.
I gotta fly.
Yeah. So let's move this along a little bit more. So let's look at, Patrick, how do you prepare for a conference? So you mentioned washing your hands, so that's an interesting thing.
Well, if you plan on attending sessions, right? So early on when I attended the past summit, my very first past summit, I remember, and I kind of planned out. They put the schedule out enough ahead of time, and I was a DBA back then, and I really pinpointed the sessions that I wanted to go to. And then as I matured in my conference going, I pinpointed the people that I wanted to meet at the conferences. And then as I matured even more, the questions that I wanted to ask. So it's kind of
absolutely.
it was kind of a growth process for me, right? So first the sessions, then the people, then I have very specific questions that I needed to answer. And so that's how I prepare when I go to conferences.
No, I agree. So definitely write down those things that you want to ask people. I think because that's the biggest value for yourself, right? You've got a question, something you're hitting. Maybe it's as specific as some of the questions in the chat were on like DAX specifically, or maybe it's more of a bigger picture of like, how do we do like governance in an organization, or like what are other companies doing that I'm missing? So those are all things to write down. And as you meet up with people, ask. So, or you mentioned specific people you want to meet, or that you want to talk to. So like if you've got that burning DAX question, the first name that hits most people's heads is Marco Russo or Alberto Ferrari, right?
I thought you were going to say me.
No, I was not going to say you. No. It's not always about you, Patrick. Not always about you.
I'll take it. Right.
Yeah. So definitely check that out. But I would also say, like, if you're at dinners, so a lot of the value I personally get out of the conferences is not necessarily so the sessions are great. And then also the like in between sessions when you're in the hallways bumping into people. But when you're at lunch, sitting at a table with other folks there, or after the event when you're going to dinner, or you're going to, usually there's a lot of, like at the bigger conferences, there's usually a lot of meetups that happen around town. So there are, those are great opportunities when you're in group discussions, so bring your question up there as well, because they're either going to be able to answer that, or there's probably someone else in that group as well that wants to know the same thing. Right. So that's definitely something to know. But the other thing too, with the questions that you want to ask, make sure you really clearly understand the pain points that you have with, whether it be with the product itself or the process, or what are those best practices, what are those pain points that you have, and be able to clearly identify or talk about those items. One of those things that I even ask when people come up to me is, what are those pain points that you have, right? So what are the one question I always like to ask people is, if you had a magic wand, like what would be that one thing that you could do to improve either adoption or improve the product itself? Like think about those things. Like if you get 30 seconds with someone and that's your moment, what are you and they ask you like, what would you do to improve the product? What are you going to say? So have that ready to go. Have it ready to go. So let's see here. Let's see. So Jen Stirrup also made the comment here: conferences are working hard to be inclusive and welcoming from to all forms of diverse backgrounds, and that makes it special for her since she can learn more. Sorry, you got cut off there. It's 140 characters on the display here, so that's all I saw on that one. Otherwise, I've got to scroll up. So, but yes, absolutely. I've been amazed at just the amount of the way that conferences are going to try and be that diverse and inclusive. It's been, at least from my perspective, I know other folks have other perspectives, but I've actively seen that in the communities as well. And again, not everyone's perfect. There's bound to be mistakes on that front, but everyone's, I know, trying. So we talked about sessions. Write down those that you want to go to, the things that you want to ask people, and the people that you want to meet, right? Because you never know who you're going to meet. One thing that's also good to do, if you know that there's someone that you want to meet, check out the sessions beforehand and see who's speaking, right? You can look at those speakers and then, identify like, oh, are they actually going to be there or not? Because you may want to meet someone, but maybe they're not going to be at the conference. So,
and you know what I find? Yeah. If you go, if let's say Adam's speaking at 10:30, and the person that is presenting before Adam at 9:30, what I do is, if I wanted to meet Adam, I go to the session before, because it's likely Adam's going to come a little early to set up and things like that, and then I'll go up to Adam and, while he's setting up, I'll disturb him. Of course, I'll disturb him because that's what I do.
Patrick,
and I'll say, "Hey, man, I'm Patrick. I've been wanting to meet you. Do you have time for a quick question?" And most of the times, at least I can speak for us, you and I, Adam. We always say, "Yeah, sure, yeah."
And I'll cut people off too. Like if I'm like trying to get a demo loaded or whatnot, I'll try and be polite about it and be like, "All right, hey, sorry, I've got to focus on this." But otherwise, a lot of times I'm just ready to go, and let's have a talk. Or if it's immediately after the session too. I know I normally get the normal crowd rush at the end. So Jen followed up on her item too, is that she can learn at looking at things at a different lens, and that I absolutely believe. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So just being able to see things. I know Patrick and I also talk a lot about, from like, his experiences are different than mine, and so I'm always trying to look at things from his lens as well. So but yeah, absolutely, those are great points. All right, so the other thing too, along with any of that, maybe it's not a session specific or a specific item that you have, but that bigger idea. Write down that idea or the questions you may have. So like, I've always wondered when you use a report in a certain situation. So that goes back to some of those best practice items, right? So, or hey, we're about to get premium. Like, what should I even know? Like, what am I getting into there? Like, and other people can have those conversations with you. All right, so Patrick, this next one's a big one, and this is more logistic wise, but make sure you're drinking water.
Yes.
We're really bad about that also.
Stay hydrated.
Yes.
Stay hydrated. Right? It can be conferences are busy. They can be draining. Sometimes late nights, because you're having these really in-depth conversations with people. But you got to stay hydrated. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
And there's always food.
Yeah, so food and water both. Yeah, food and water both.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, so I think you were trying to say, like, most places they have all that stuff ready for you to to drink. But if it's a bigger conference, so like Microsoft Ignite is just a whole other just a whole other beast, right? So so just be aware that at those bigger conferences, you need to maybe scout out and figure out where are the food and water stations, and kind of know like where you got to go to get it. So like at Ignite, man, it's which leads me also into my other one of just wear comfortable shoes. So don't wear the shoe. You're going to be in those shoes all day long, and you're going to be walking a lot. So especially at Ignite, I did my steps, and it was, I don't know, 10, 12 miles worth of walking.
I say just be comfortable overall, right? Yep. And so I see a lot of people with the big backpacks and it's just loaded down. If I'm not speaking, I'll be honest with you. If I'm not speaking, I don't even bring my backpack. You know,
are you I may talking have about me or.
I'm not judging, right? I'm not judging.
My 50-pound backpack.
If I'm not speaking, maybe I have my backpack, but it's a much lighter version of my speaking backpack. Because usually when I'm speaking, I have 2 laptops, I have a second monitor, 3 mouse, I have all these things in my backpack. But if I'm just attending a conference, there's my small laptop. It's really comfortable. I have a bottle of water in each pouch, you know, maybe some trail mix or something, and I'm ready to go, right? I'm as comfortable as I possibly be. Usually I have a t-shirt, some jeans, and some sneakers on, right?
Yep.
I just get as comfortable as I can. Yep.
So it's not about the sell. Made the comment, wear comfortable shoes. No one's judging your fashion at these events, especially when Patrick points out his, you know, shoes that were black that he was wearing, and they were shoes, right? But someone else, we were at the Power Platform World Tour Houston, and someone guy's like, "Oh my gosh, you've got those shoes!" And Patrick just got so happy. He's like, "Yes, yes," and I'm like, "What? They're like black shoes? I don't get it."
They're right there. They're right there.
Apparently these are like amazing shoes. My shoes, they're sneakers, $14 at Sam's Club. Whatever. They work. So Dr. Tony made a comment. Are we speaking at the Data and Analytics Summit? I can speak today. We are not speaking at the Data and Analytics Summit. We will be there. Our purpose there is we'll be hopefully at the booth at some points, but our big reason for being there, we're going to be doing some of the customer meetings that happen there from a Microsoft side of things. So completely unrelated to GuineCube, but that's what we're going to be doing there.
We're doing our day job.
We're doing our day job. Yes. So yep. And then the last big point I'll pull out, and then we'll get to some more of the chat stuff is in the description of the video, there is a link there for a free PDF that you can download that kind of covers some of these points. I've also got a list with hyperlinks to some of the bigger conferences and items that I could think of. So like including SQL Bits, SQL Conference, the Power Platform World Tour, Power Platform Summit, Ignite, but also SQL Saturday, the Power BI days. And then again, we mentioned it before too. Your local user groups are huge, right? So get involved in your local user group. You can go to the Power Platform user group page. Pugs. I don't know. Where they can go. Seth, you may know this in the chat. I don't know if you can put a link to the Pug site or if anyone can. But that's a great spot where you can find out where your local, like either Power BI user group or Power Platform user group is. So that's definitely get involved in that. And I would even challenge you a little bit if you've got something that you learned and want to share out with folks. Try speaking.
To speak,
right? Just give it a shot.
So I'll say this, right? We travel a bit for work. Whenever I travel, if I know I'm going to be there for a couple of days, I reach out to the local users group and I say, hey, do you guys have a meeting? Do you have a speaker? I love to speak. If I can't speak, I want to attend. When's the next group, right? So if you travel a little bit, there's probably, when you're out in wherever you're going, it's likely that there's a meeting going on. And in 2 weeks, I'll be in Louisville and I'm actually speaking at their users group in Louisville, right? Because I just reached out to them.
Yeah. You never know. So Michael asks, where's the best place to find a list of conferences? That is a great question. So in the PDF, we've got a list of conferences, so that's a great place to start. Also, there was, and I don't know it off the top of my head, but I thought there was someone did a Power BI report even that I think had a list of those items that were available. I do not know the link off the top of my head, so I don't know if someone in the chat maybe knows the link for that. I think it's out on the community.powerbi.com under data stories. I think it's in there, but that's something as well. But I would say a good spot is the start off with in the PDF that we've got the list of conferences there. I've got the links to their websites as well. SQL Saturday and the Power BI Days, those are going to be the free events, and so you can get listings and search and see where that's going to be near your area as well. So that's a good spot. Let's see here. So Christian made the comment they're planning to do the first Power BI user group in March here in Timisoara. Where's Timisoara? Where is that? I don't know where that is. Patrick and I find where we hear these places, and we've got to go look at where in the map that is. So he responded back with Romania. Wow, that's exciting.
Oh,
that'd be really cool. Yeah. Romania. I remember Patrick and I, we went down to Uruguay 2016, 2017, somewhere around there, and they reached out to us asking if we'd speak, and at that point we had it, it was free for us to go do, but we had to go look up where it was. We didn't know. We're like, where's Uruguay? We're like, oh, it's south of Brazil.
Way down south.
Yeah.
Way down south.
So that was funny. All right, so Kim made the comment, closest user group to her is 4 hours away. Any advice on starting a new one? Ooh, that's a good topic. For starting a new one, so I haven't like Patrick, you're probably better to speak about this because you've helped build some user groups.
Yeah. So the first thing I did was, at least back when I started my users group, I reached out. If you're starting a Power BI user group, reach out to the Power BI user group, the PUG, reach out to them. And they have a lot of information on, hey, this is how you start. The biggest challenge with starting a user group, if you're thinking about it, start looking for a place. Start looking for a place to host your user group. Usually the company you work for or one of the local companies will do it. Once you get the place, everything else, the PUG will help you set up all the logistics, advertising, and things like that. It's much better now than when I first started my user group. There's
a lot more resources out there and folks that are willing to help you. I would say that too in SQL Saturday.
And then reach out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Reach out to the closest users group and talk to those people that started their users group, because they'll provide you with the same resources to help get you started.
Also, if you happen to be at one of the bigger conferences, so like Past Summit or Business Application Summit or even Ignite, a lot of the folks that run the organization of like the All Up for that are there as well. And also like the user group leaders are there as well. And you can like go talk to them, and they have specific meet times that I think they meet as well. So, but there's ways for you to connect with them and get that experience and ask those questions. But if you're not going to those big conferences and just kind of, trying to do it, think about it on your own, like Patrick said, get the location. Also from what I've heard, and Patrick, maybe you can confirm this or chat can confirm this, is getting a speaker is hard. And so be prepared that you're probably, in the beginning at least, as you're getting started, you're probably going to have to do a lot of the heavy lifting. It's a lot of work, but it is rewarding.
Back in the early 90s, the late 90s, early 2000s, when I started my SQL Server users group, the first, it probably was like 2004, I spoke at the first 3 meetings because I couldn't find speakers. I spoke at the first 3 our first 3 meetings, and then like I started kind of mentoring other speakers. It's like just do a 30-minute talk, or let's do a session together. And then we just kind of grew, and we started inviting other people, to come to our users group. So, but you may, like Adam said, you may have to do several of those first sessions when you start your group.
Yeah. Yep. And then Jen made a comment also that I agree, and thank you so much, Jen, for being in the audience here. But she made the comment that some speakers will present remotely if you can do that. So don't necessarily think that you're limited to your immediate location, which is big. So I agree with that. And I know we've done that on occasion as well.
Yep.
So and I know we've done that remotely. So it's a little more logistics that you got to figure out, because they're you got to have all the equipment to handle the remote piece of it. But hopefully that will help you out on that one. There was another one. Here we go. So Seth Scott had the question of, what conferences are you and I going to be at, Patrick? So they're not sure if we talked about that yet. We had not talked about that yet. So yeah, go for it, Patrick. Where are we going to be?
Well, so next up is Gartner, right? We'll be at Gartner. Yep. And then we're going to MBAS, the Business Application Summit. And we have not confirmed Ignite or Past Summit yet, right?
Yeah, so those are down. So yeah, Gartner, Business Application Summit. I thought there was something else that was there too that we were doing.
So I'm doing the users group next in a couple of weeks in Louisville, and then SQL Saturday Atlanta is in May. There is something else. I don't know, man. I know SQL Saturday Atlanta is coming up.
Yeah.
In May.
Yes, I know Gartner and MBAS are the big ones that we're going to be at, and then more than likely Ignite and Past Summit. Past Summit, I know I'm pretty much more. I'm going to have to go. Also, I've been going since 2008, but it's in Houston this year, so I don't really have an excuse not to go. It's just a drive downtown for me. So
hey, I grew up in Houston, so I'm definitely going.
You were more excited about Ignite though, because it's in New Orleans. So.
That's right, my friend. That's right.
Yes. Okay, so there were. Here, let me go. So SBK Sai, you made a comment. You've got a few features that you wanted to implement in Power BI reporting, and you had this long list of items that are there. So thanks so much for contributing that. One thing I would actually say on those items is, as you figure out those items and how to do those items, so like you're learning how to do that, those are usually items like when Patrick and I do that, when we figure something out, like this just happened the other day of like, oh my gosh, that's interesting. Let's do a video on that, or let's figure out how I can put a session together for that, and start share, or a blog post or something of that nature where you can share that out with other folks. So I don't know that we've got, in the case of this live stream, to go through all those items, but those are, you had a lot of items. So it's good that you're thinking about, like, these are the items that I need to go figure out. So make sure you're searching on those, and communities.powerbi.com is great for that as well. So okay, what else? So Alex Hicks has a comment here. So a message for employees using Power BI: don't be afraid to ask your employer to attend the conference. Be clear on what the value you will add by attending. And then it got cut off. So I got the full chat.
You know what?
So he said
a lot of conferences are.
Hang on, Patrick. So he also said perhaps run a debrief when you get back, or like a trip report of what you did. I think that's important to show the value that it was worth sending you to that event. So good point. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. And a lot of conferences are providing that little blurb that you need, the value add, because when you go ask, hey, I need $5,000 to go to this conference. Why? I mean, if I'm your boss, and we're like, why? What's the value? And I know Past Summit does it. They give you a little, they give you the value add, and you can just copy and paste it and say, this is why I need to go. I kind of flare it up a little bit, add my own words to it, but they give you a starting point. A lot of conferences are starting to do that.
Yep. Good point. All right, moving along. Damu said, don't miss the after party where you'll meet people more casually and talk more. Yes. And so one thing I know that's a little bit intimidating about after parties and whatnot, usually there's alcohol at those things, and some folks may not want to drink alcohol. Don't feel like, try not to feel pressured that you have to do that. So that's your reason for not attending the party. So I know I know some folks in the community that they drink water or they'll drink soda, and that's fine. Doesn't bother me. Like, that's your personal choice, and you shouldn't feel embarrassed or imposed on to do anything like that. One word of advice, if you were in that camp where you don't drink alcohol, maybe you feel a little intimidated. This was part of our power hour at Past Summit, so we shared the information of the Happy Tappy. And so the Happy Tappy is, if you look on urbandictionary.com, which is the great source of truth in the world, so that is basically tap water with ice. It's a Happy Tappy. And so we actually went to a few bars and we asked them, do you know what a Happy Tappy is? And they're like, no. We're like, oh, it's for someone that if they're, intimidated of just ordering water, they can order a Happy Tappy, and it's just water with ice on the rocks. And then they're like, oh man, that's awesome. I'm going to start using that with people. And so, if you just order a Happy Tappy. It's perfectly fine. So, oh, I love sharing that kind of advice. It's great. All right. So what else we got here? All right, Patrick, this one's for you. Aditya says, any plans to have conferences in India? So I know there are conferences in India. There's one specific one. I think it's DPS, I think is the acronym. I don't remember. Data Platform something.
Summit?
No, maybe Summit. But there are absolutely events in India. I don't think Patrick and I are not planning on going to any, at least this year. Data Platform Summit. All right, Damu put that in the chat. Data Platform Summit. So Amit Banzal runs that. Amit's a great guy. And so that's definitely one in India. That's a big one that I know of in India that's out there. So
yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Let's see. What other thoughts do you have out there, Patrick? What do you
you got to be mindful and be courteous, right? These conferences are busy. There's a lot of people at these conferences, and it can be frustrating. Some of them can be frustrating because rooms are full. People are moving quickly. There's sometimes there could be some bumping and shoving going on. I think you just got to be mindful, courteous, and polite to people because there's tons of things going on. And so don't be rude. Well, don't be rude. Don't be rude. Don't be mean.
Yeah. I would also add, assume best intentions, right? So, because sometimes you don't know where that other person is from their headspace, particularly. So make sure you're thinking about that as well as look, maybe something just happened to them and they're having a bad day or something like that. So try and just keep that in mind as well. So Mark Beadle asks a great question. Can you define a Power BI conference? Are we talking major conferences, SQL Saturday type things? What are we talking about there? I would say yes to all of that. Conference is kind of a broad
even users
term.
Groups, right?
Yeah. In the context of this, everything we've stated applies to user groups as well, right? So it's the same thing. Yeah. So you can go as big as something like Ignite, which is one of the biggest conferences that's out there. I think they usually get around anywhere from 25 to 30,000 people, to a local user group where I know of a user group where they have 13 people, right? So it's and SQL Saturdays, depending on which SQL Saturday you're going, it could be like a Dallas, Atlanta, or Baton Rouge one where they're really big, to a local SQL Saturday. I remember the Uruguay one that we did. It was it was their first one. It was 12, 13 people. So it wasn't, those can vary in size as well. So definitely think about that. Good question. Let's see here. Go back to Damu made the comment that there is a Power Platform World Tour coming up in Washington DC. That's great. And then Bob Hoover. Oh, this is a good one. So most difficult part of conferences is getting the boss to allow us to attend, especially working for government organizations. So yeah, that's a good point. And I know Bradford had brought this up earlier. Don't be afraid to ask. And then Patrick, you followed on also some of the bigger events. So SQL Bits and Past Summit, they usually have blurbs that you can do from a value statement perspective. So that's something to think about. And so the other thing too is if you're not going to Past or SQL Bits, and look, those value statements are for those conferences, you can take that. It's usually a pretty generic statement, and you could probably wordsmith that a little bit to reflect the value that you're going to get from even smaller conferences. So that's something to think about.
You know what? I also use those as personal investment. So one of the first Sequel Saturdays I went to, it was in Orlando. I was living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana at the time, and I asked my company, could I go? And they were like, "Yeah, no, we don't have the budget for it." And I just went back to my wife. I was like, "Hey, look, I need to go to this conference," and I made a personal investment in myself. It was a little bit out of our budget, but it was totally worth it. Probably spent $800-900 on the total trip. I ate ramen noodles most of the evenings I was there, but
he still does that today.
It was totally worth it. It was totally worth. Sometimes you got to make the personal investment in yourself. That's the point. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? So, if your boss says no, like my first PAT summit was a negotiation with my boss. They paid for the conference and the hotel, and I paid for the flight myself. So
yeah.
Anyway,
so just pro tip out there: if you're ever at a conference and you know Patrick's going to be there, just walk up to him and hand him a thing of Top Robin. Right, just hand him a little bit, because he may be a little hungry. Just saying. So Zach Willand has a comment. How does MBAS compare to Ignite in regards to Power BI content? So MBAS, Microsoft Business Application Summit, more or less about the same. He's going to MBAS for the first time this year. That's awesome. So MBAS is going to have more Power BI content than Ignite will, by far. So, because Ignite, one of the things to know about Ignite is it's everything Microsoft. And so there'll be a couple of sessions from the Power BI product team, and they tend to be selective about who they get from outside of Microsoft folks in terms of speaking. So you may have a couple of items from external speakers, but generally MBAS is going to have more Power BI content than what Ignite's going to have. So yeah, that's why I said before, like Business Application Summit that's the Power BI conference from the Microsoft side. If you want to go, Ignite is fun, and there's a lot of stuff at Ignite, but strictly from the majority of Power BI people that are going to be at something, Business Application Summit's going to have the most. I'd have to look. So this is just me making an assumption, which is bad. But I would almost think that past Summit may have more Power BI sessions than Ignite does. I'd have to go look to validate that, but my gut tells me that that's a true statement. So, yep. So here you go, Patrick. Christian asks, what's your best and worst experience at a conference?
My best experience at any conference, right, that I've been to is meeting the speaker that I want to speak. That I want to meet. That's my best experience. And I've met just about every speaker that I wanted to meet. My worst experience, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys right here, is just drinking a little too much, and we'll just leave it at that. Just drinking a little too much.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, sequel bits, baby. Probably the best experience for me, honestly, was just all of the chaos that surrounded the putting together the Power Hour at MBAS last year. And I say it was chaos. It was chaos. It was like 18 hours before we were doing. It was a mad scramble to change the rooms, all the logistics. It was very stressful for myself and Matthew Roach.
Wait,
it was not stressful for you,
so
Patrick.
My worst conference experience is at MBAS last year. I get out of a session and somebody walks up to me and says, "Hey, that 1 o'clock session that you had, yeah, we changed to 8 a.m. That's my worst conference experience."
That was my fault because of the Power Hour.
Yeah.
So we had a choice of do we bump Patrick or do we like make it a whole other thing? I'm like, bump Patrick. Like, it's fine, bump Patrick. I'm gonna make that decision right there, and we bumped him, and then he was not happy. He thought he had a whole other day because that session landed on your plate. So it's like, all right, well, I got like 24 hours to prep for this thing. We'd done it before, but he had to make sure the demos were there. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be in the morning now, so you don't have all morning to prep for it. So you gotta do that tonight. Okay, well, he's not going out with friends that night.
Yeah, ask Adam how pleasant I was in that session.
Oh, he was joyful. Yeah. So he was. No, he wasn't. It was. Yeah. So Yeah. So, I mean, those are just a lot of the main tips that we have. I know there's a lot of great discussion going on in chat as well. So definitely take a lot of that. Just try and be engaged and active at the conference. Don't just go to the sessions and then back to your hotel room, because I think you're missing out on a lot of stuff if you do that. I know some people, especially if you're traveling internationally, sometimes it's like, look, tonight I'm just going to bed early because that travel was brutal, right? So you got to make sure you are getting sleep. But I would also say, like, if you can, try to figure out where the events are happening during the nighttime, so that you can participate in some of that stuff. So usually, I know this is my personal experience. There may be other locations where you can figure that out, but like on Twitter, normally for the hashtag for the event, usually you'll see a lot of stuff going for different events that are there, where you can just ask, hey, what's going on tonight? And people will just let you know where it is. One last thing, Mr. Donovan threw it out there. So just circling full circle back around, in a world where coronavirus is already getting folks, vendors to cancel conference appearances, how does a company evaluate sending theirs? I don't have a solid answer for you there, because I think a lot of that's got to be around, you've got to make a judgment call on whether or not you go or don't go. It also depends where in the world you are in relationship to where a lot of the news is saying. I would say do your research, right? So do your research, take a look at the WHO and the CDC websites to see what the actual facts are about what's going on. So don't necessarily go off of just what's in the news and or in blogs or Twitter or whatever, because some of that can be sensationalized. Check out WHO's website, check out the CDC, check out the conference website also to see like what's going on there, to just be knowledgeable about what you're doing. It's going to be a personal judgment call on the company, and it's going to be a personal judgment call on yourself. So you've got to weigh that in. I don't know of a better way to answer that. So, all right, folks, definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with us. This was awesome. We're going to figure out what our stream is next Saturday, but we will be doing it. So same bat time, same bat channel, Saturdays, 9:30 a.m. Central Time. All right, folks, thank you so much for attending. Patrick, we're out.
Have a great weekend.
All right, see you guys.